Thank you so much to our patrons, Sawtooth44 and Kyle Baker. We hope you enjoy our content, and thank you so much for donating to the team. It means a lot to us. Yeah, tiny bit late on this, but holy shit, I couldn't not talk about this. Imagine me, the Halo shill, not talking about Halo news. Well, in case you somehow weren't aware, it's been over a year since our last official piece of content relating to Halo Infinite. The last thing we saw was the Discover Hope trailer, and ever since then it's been essentially barren. A full year without any news, and people were starting to get worried. While some parts of the fandom believe there must have been a good reason for keeping the development of Halo Infinite a secret, like Microsoft maybe wanting to keep it for some big Series X reveal, others were wondering if 343 Industries or Microsoft even had faith in the project. I mean, after all, the last Halo game was Halo 5, and that was... I think it's fair to say the reception to that was mixed. But here we are, a whole year later, and we finally received this.
The hour approaches. Forces occupy the ring. Within hours, it will be under our control. Humanity will burn. Their brazen defiance will be all but a memory. No more prophets. No more lies. We stand together, brothers to the end. We are his will. We are his legacy. We are the Banished.
And I know there's a fair few of you who haven't played the best Halo game to come out in the past 10 years, and probably a few of you who haven't already gone to Hidden Xperia for an explanation. So I'm going to spend this video answering a few questions other YouTubers likely have already addressed, and a few criticisms they very likely haven't. Firstly, who are the Banished? If you want a simple answer, they're a Covenant splinter faction you fight in Halo Wars 2. If you want an actual answer, here's the abridged lore. During the Human Covenant War, a clan of brutes were used as suicide shock troopers and were sent in 40 at a time, and each time one single brute returned. His name is Atriox, and eventually he got sick and tired of the Covenant trying to kill him, and the Covenant got sick and tired of him still being alive. And so after he survived yet another suicide mission, the Covenant attempted to execute him, only for Atriox to rebel and inspire others to rebel, founding the Banished. Atriox essentially split the Covenant in two, and was leading a new pirate mercenary faction that struck against both the Covenant and humanity, stealing resources from both to bolster his strength. The Covenant at the height of their power considered him a bigger threat than all of humanity, and after the Empire fell, Atriox and his Banished have only been getting stronger. So while the Covenant remnants have been getting weaker and weaker, being forced to rely on increasingly obsolete technology, Atriox is still just as strong as when the Covenant were at their peak, maybe even stronger. This is the Banished, a force even the Covenant couldn't stop, and now a fractured humanity and Covenant remnant will have to face down. So, what does this confirm? Well, two things. One being the obvious, the Banished are going to be in Halo Infinite, which would have been a fantastic goddamn reveal, if the toy leaks hadn't shown that already. But this also confirms something else. Seeing as the Banished are predominantly a brute faction, the brutes must be back. We haven't seen them in an FPS since Reach. It's been nearly 10 years since the Angry Boys have berserked at us, and I for one am so happy to have them back, which leads to the second question. Who's the guy speaking? I've seen a few people say that this is Atriox, but it honestly doesn't sound close enough. Listen again.
We are his legacy. We are the Banished. As I suspected. Nothing but a man.
Though I definitely agree that this is a brute speaking, which would once again confirm Angry Boys for Halo Infinite, I don't think this is close enough to be Atriox. But here's something I've seen brought up multiple times. The voice sounds sick. Could he be infected by the Flood? While I admire the enthusiasm, boys, I can tell you with 100% certainty that this man is definitely not infected by the Flood. This is just how the brutes sound. They sound disgusting. Definitely not Flood disgusting, but still pretty bad. Also, why would you have the Flood announce themselves as the Banished? Maybe it's a trick, I hear you cry. Well, I honestly can't imagine 343 putting out a teaser for one faction only for it to technically be revealed to be another faction. If the Flood were to return, then yes, they would likely be wearing the Banished skin. I really do not think the Flood will be returning in Infinite. I'd like them to. I can concoct reasons for them to likely appear in Infinite, but I know deep in my heart that they are just not going to be there. And I think if you look in your heart too, you know it as well. And if I'm wrong, I don't know, I'll eat something disgusting on camera. And now let's look at some of the criticisms I've seen about this reveal, because surprisingly, there's actually people upset about this reveal. So let's try and address the most common complaints I've seen and see if I can sway a few people. Complaint number 1. This is supposed to be the Reclaimer saga. The Banished don't fit into this story. Well, this is the only complaint I kind of agree with. I think it's pretty obvious that the Banished weren't going to be a part of Halo Infinite until 343 saw the incredibly positive reputation they garnered after their debut in Halo Wars 2. They are the first faction since 343 took over the series that got pretty much universal approval. The Storm Covenant, the Prometheans, the Created, all of them have been fairly controversial, some more than others though. But really, I can't see the Banished having their forces in Halo Infinite turning out to be that much of a problem. The story of the Reclaimer saga is already a mess. I think it can survive the introduction of a beloved faction. And also, there's some people saying that it just doesn't make sense for the Banished to be in this game logistically. The Banished are still engaged in a war with the Spirit of Fire on the Ark. Why would they be on this Halo? Well, there's probably more of them? This is a faction that could fight against the Covenant at the height of their power, and you think they only had one ship? We already know the Banished have taken over Reach, and if you didn't know, the Banished have taken over Reach. So we know their forces are split between Reach and the Ark. So why not? Why not just have the Reach forces move to Halo, or hell, introduce a whole new Banished fleet to go to the Halo? I think it doesn't logistically make sense for the entirety of the force that could face down the Covenant managing to squeeze themselves onto a single assault carrier and then deciding to leave all their land and resources behind to go and grab the Ark. There's more Banished, that's just how it be. Complaint number 2. The Banished are going to replace the Created as the major antagonists and render the story of Halo 5 pointless. Imagine thinking making Halo 5 pointless is a bad thing. Okay, jokes aside, I understand this one. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. The Reclaimer saga feels like it's been building up to the story about the rise of the Prometheans and the Created. Halo 4 was about the return of the Prometheans, Halo 5 is about the Created taking control of the Prometheans and the galaxy at large. Halo Infinite should logically be about stopping the Created then, right? So why are the Banished the main focus? Well, here's the thing. We have absolutely no confirmation that the Banished are the main focus. I've seen some people say that the fact that they're the main focus in their reveal trailer means they're going to be the main antagonists, but it's their reveal trailer. This is something that really didn't need the presence of the Created at all. On top of that, the Discover Hope trailer literally ends on a big whole thing about Cortana. It even gave us a whole secret message with Cortana. I'm pretty sure Cortana, the leader of the Created, is going to be the focus here. What I do think is interesting about this complaint, but funnily enough haven't seen anyone talk about, is that there are no toy leaks with any Prometheans. We've gotten humans, we've gotten coveys, we even got the Banished, but not a single Promethean. This is what I think the conversation should be talking about. Now this is going to go into some guesswork because we have absolutely zero concrete answers, but what else are we going to do? Now, yes, there are no Promethean toys, but this doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be no Prometheans in the game. The Prometheans have been so integral to Halo 4 and 5, I doubt they're going to be absent in Infinite. As for the Created, well, I have a theory about them. Yes, I do think they'll have a presence in Infinite, and a pretty big one. Now, I think the Covenant units we've seen are a part of the Created. See this little logo here? This logo isn't a Covenant logo. It's not a Swords of Sanghelios logo. It's something new. I think this is likely a Created logo, and the Created army will be what we saw in Halo 4. A mixture of Covenant units and Promethean units. How can I be sure that they'll even be Created and that these aren't Banished units? Halo games have always had free faction combat. The only games that don't are 2 of the 4 spin-off games. The main trilogy has humanity versus the Covenant versus the Flood. The Reclaimer saga has humanity versus the Covenant versus the Prometheans. Who's to say Infinite isn't going to have humanity versus the Created versus the Banished? If you're a fan of the Prometheans or the Created, I don't think you have to worry. There's no way they won't have a presence in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if towards the end the Banished become the more dominant faction, but you'll still have them there. And complaint number 3, the Banished are just Red Covenant. They're not going to be any different to fight. Not really? Even if the Covenant as they were in Halo 4 and 5 are in Infinite and are missing Promethean units, that's still different enough to the Banished. The Banished use different weapons, they use different vehicles, they have entirely unique units, and they have the Brutes, an alien species that will be entirely unique to the Banished. On top of that, the armor feels distinct in comparison to the Storm Covenant. I don't think this is going to be much of a problem either, especially when the Covenant is already the most fun enemy to fight in the game. And if the Covenant are actually the Created and will be fielding Prometheans like I theorized, then it's going to feel even more different. Brutes versus Prometheans, or even Brutes versus Elites, either work for me. And that's pretty much it. The Banished are confirmed for Halo Infinite, the Brutes will be returning, it's pretty unlikely the Flood will be returning, and you guys shouldn't worry about having no Created, they'll be there, I'm sure of it. I'm so incredibly excited about this. The Banished are my favourite faction outside the Covenant Empire, and they have so much cool tech and units that they've used in Halo Wars 2, and I cannot wait to see how good they look in first person. Imagine having to fight Goliaths or taking control of a Locust or Blisterback. I'm so hyped, and I hope you guys are feeling just as happy and excited as I am. Cherry flavoured Covenant are back, boys. Have a good one.